For, well, centuries, we've been trying to tame our rivers. We straighten them, we build dams, we control their every move. But what happens when we try to undo all that? Today, we're diving into a really ambitious project at the Kniep Estate to see what the science actually says about letting a river heal itself.
So, for 200 years, this is what the River Adour looked like. Honestly, it was more like a drainage ditch or a canal than a living river. It was straightened out for boats, its natural, beautiful curves just erased from the landscape. It was efficient, I guess, but from an ecological standpoint, it was completely broken.
And that brings us to the big question, the whole reason we're here. What actually happens when you hit the reset button? When you give a river back its freedom to wander, to flood, to just be a river again?
Well, that's exactly what they decided to find out at the Kniep Estate in West Sussex. Between 2011 and 2013, they undertook this massive project. They literally recarved the river's old winding path back into the land and let it reconnect with the fields around it. The hope was to bring back wildlife and even help with flooding.
Okay, but that sets up a huge challenge, right? The bulldozers go home, the dust settles, now what? How do you actually measure if it worked? How can you tell if the river is truly getting healthier? Well, it turns out the answer lies with some very, very small and very important local residents.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? We need more than just pretty pictures of a winding river. We need cold, hard data. We need real evidence that the ecosystem itself is bouncing back. And to get that evidence, scientists look to the creatures living right on the riverbed. So meet our heroes, benthic macroinvertebrates. Whoa, that is a mouthful, I know. But all it really means is the little critters, insects, worms, snails, that live their lives on the bottom of the river. You can think of them as the river's permanent residents.
And this is why they are the absolute perfect detectives for a case like this. See, if you take a chemical water sample, that's just a snapshot in time, a single moment. But these creatures, they live in the water 24/7. So the community of bugs you find tells you the river's story over weeks, months, even years.
And here's the key. Think of it like this. Some of these little guys, like certain mayflies, are super sensitive. They're picky. They need clean, oxygen-rich water to survive. So if you find them, that's a great sign. But then you have the tough guys, like these oligochaeta worms, that can live pretty much anywhere, even in polluted water. If your river's full of them and not much else, well, that's a huge red flag.
Okay, so the scientists have their clues, the bugs. But how do they actually collect them? And how on earth do they turn a net full of tiny critters into a clear scientific conclusion about the river's health? Let's break down how it's done.
It's a surprisingly straightforward process. First, they do something called a kick sample. They basically shuffle their feet on the riverbed for a specific amount of time and catch everything that gets kicked up into a net. Then comes the really painstaking part. Back in the lab, they identify and count every single creature. And finally, they plug all those numbers into formulas to get their data.
And this is how they do it. They use these scoring systems, where the sensitive, picky species get a high score and the tough, pollution-tolerant ones get a low score. By calculating an average, like this ASPT score you see here, they can boil all that amazing, complex biodiversity down into a single number that tells them how healthy the river is. Pretty clever, right?
And here's what makes this particular study so powerful. The timeline. You see, the researchers had data from 2011 before any of the restoration work began. That's the baseline. Then they came back in 2015 for a first look, and then again for this big study in 2017. This gives them a fantastic before and after picture.
So, the stage is set. The method is clear. The tiny detectives have been gathered and counted. So what did they find? 4 years after letting the river run wild, what was the verdict?
The first major clue is a really good one. This chart is comparing a key health score between 2015 and 2017. Just look at the gray bars, that's 2017. At nearly every single spot they tested, the score is higher than it was in 2015. That is a clear, positive signal of improvement.
Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This chart brings in the data from way back in 2011, before the project even started. And yeah, there's some bouncing around year to year, which you'd expect in a natural system. But the overall trend? It's undeniable. The river's health score is clearly climbing over time.
But you know, sometimes the most powerful evidence isn't a chart, it's a single species. This mayfly family, the Heptagenidae, was completely gone from this river. They just weren't there before the restoration. And then, in 2017, the scientists found them. This is a real, tangible sign that things are getting better.
And the researchers think they know why it came back. They believe the return of this specific mayfly is directly linked to one of the restoration techniques, adding big logs and fallen branches back into the river. It's a perfect example of a direct connection. They built the habitat and the wildlife came.
So the signs are good. The scores are trending up, and sensitive species are starting to show up again. But ecological recovery is rarely an overnight success story. And this final part of the investigation teaches us a really important lesson about patience.
So, is it time to declare victory? 4 years in, is the River Adour fully healed? Can we just stamp mission accomplished on this whole project? Well, the data tells us the story is just a little bit more complicated than that.
And this is the critical context we need. The scientists point to other long-term studies, like one on a river in Denmark. And there, the biggest improvements in the river's health didn't even peak until 18 years after the restoration was finished. 18! Ecological healing is a very, very long game.
So what's the verdict on Knep's River? It's absolutely positive. The signs are incredibly promising. But it's still early. The river is on a clear path to recovery, but its journey has really just begun.
The evidence from our tiny detectives is crystal clear. Rewilding works. It really does. But they also teach us that nature moves at its own pace. This kind of deep healing is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And the full benefits might not be seen for many, many years to come.
And that leaves us with this final, really hopeful question. The KNEP project shows us what's possible in just a handful of years. It really makes you wonder if we can just be patient, and if we can give nature the space it needs to do its thing, just how much of the damage we've done can truly be reversed.